Hi, and welcome to this presentation. My name is Darrell Evans, and I'm one of the co-founders of Yokel Local Internet Marketing. And I would like to welcome you to the 3 keys to marketing your business effectively with LinkedIn. Now, this presentation was originally provided to a local business networking group here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we unfortunately had some audio problems, so I'd like to re-record that presentation for you right now. Now, if you're watching this video, there should be a PDF handout that will accompany this presentation so that you can take notes, and so you should be able to download that beneath this video if you're watching that on our website. And so please sit back, take some notes, and let's dive right in. Now, this video will take about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 25 at the longest, so we hope you enjoy it. Now, how did I get started with LinkedIn? Well, in 2006, prior to 2006 perhaps, I was very effective in marketing my business through direct response marketing and through referral marketing, as in getting referrals from our current and existing client base, and a number of other direct strategies. Well, as consumer demands began to change, I started realizing that more and more of my customers were looking more online, and so I started marketing online in around 2004, and which led me to LinkedIn in 2006. I want to talk specifically about LinkedIn today. I know that there are a lot of other platforms out there, but specifically for businesses that are focused on B2B marketing and even B2C, there are some really great advantages to using LinkedIn. But one of the things I often encounter is resistance to this idea of social media. And so I want to start by mentioning a quote from Seth Godin. And if you're not sure who Seth Godin is, he's the author of the book, The Dip, as well as many other books. Another one is Permission Marketing. He says, how can you squander even one more day not taking advantage of the greatest shifts of our generation? And that shift is in social media marketing. I mean, more and more of our customers, their attention is spread out now between television, between movies, between online, between video, with all of the different things that are going on to distract them. They're spending more and more hours on social media, and many of my clients resist this idea that social media is worth it. It's worth your time. Well, if you sit back in this presentation, I'm going to prove to you not only 3 really effective strategies for how you can boost your presence on LinkedIn and start getting a real return on your investment, but not only that, I'm going to show you a 4th key in this video, which proves to you that you can actually make money. So let's start with the first logical question. Why should you be on LinkedIn? Let's start number 1 with the idea that there's 200 million active users on LinkedIn. The second idea is that 68% of those users are decision makers. Now, if you're selling a product or a service, professional service or otherwise, you want to get to decision makers. If you compare this to Facebook or YouTube, you're going to find that you're not talking to as many decision makers because most of them spend time on LinkedIn. 47% of them are business owners. So if you're selling to business owners, you're talking to the right crowd. Now pay attention to this 4th one, because this one is the one that drew my attention in 2006. The average income now is $109,000 per household. Now, I believe in 2006 when I joined, that number was upwards of 80-something thousand. So one of the studies that I found recently in January, in fact, from a company called Vistage, which is a CEO consulting agency, they found that their study showed that LinkedIn was, 41% believed that it had more potential than Facebook and then Twitter and of course YouTube and so forth. Now again, depends on your type of business. I'm always an advocate of saying that you must study the platform and study who's using the platform so you can decide if your target audience is in fact on that platform, because I'm always about making sure you're targeting your audience and not wasting time targeting people who can't buy from you. So let's talk about the first key in this process, and that is getting your profile found. Back then in 2006, I was actually in transition and I didn't have a personal website. Now, one of the things I found online was after I left my company in 05 and went to, 04, went to a company in 05, we started a company. I didn't have my own personal site. We started a mortgage company and we had a corporate website, but I didn't have my own unique website. I'd given that up when we started this larger multi-million-dollar corporation. Now, what I did do, though, was notice that I was able to rank on the first page for my name with my LinkedIn profile. Now, what's interesting about that? A couple of years ago, I did a presentation called Are You Googleable? Now, it's kind of a funny phrase that I made up. It's probably not even a word, but the point of the matter was when you're meeting people in the business marketplace, whether it's networking, whether it's a cold type of lead, depending on the type of marketing you're doing, many of them want to Google you to find out if you're credible. Well, I have a challenge, and probably many of you do as well. That challenge is that my name is Darrell Evans, and it happens to be that there's a Hall of Fame baseball player with the same name and a very popular Christian musician with the same name also. So what's interesting is I always tell my clients that you should own the first page for your own name. Now, if you have a common name, that's going to be a challenge. Here's the solution. Make sure you have a robust and optimized LinkedIn profile. And as you can see on this page, my profile has been on the first page more or less for the last 5, 6, 7 years. There's a few exceptions where I think I've not seen it on the first page, but this is where I can compete to be recognized for my particular name. The next thing you want to do is make sure your profile is optimized for the LinkedIn search engine or the LinkedIn search portal. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But as you can see here, my profile has been found 1,049 times. It's been clicked on 159 times, which is about a 10% click-through rate. Now think about that. When people are online searching for products and services or searching for professionals inside the LinkedIn marketplace, my profile's been there 1,050 times roughly, and it's been clicked on about 150 times. That is a very good call to action where I get enough visibility. So obviously, if you're going to get your profile found, you must figure out how to optimize it. So let's dive into that. So this is a view of my public profile where someone who is not logged in to LinkedIn, this is what they're going to see. So the first step that you're going to want to optimize, you're going to want to optimize your headline. Your headline is the very first thing people are going to see next to your photo. Now, speaking of photos, I would always encourage you to upload a very professional photo of yourself, not with your logo and your company, not with you and someone else, and certainly not one from you and your friends partying on Friday night, in your night out. Very professional photo. The next thing you're going to want to optimize is your current employment. So some of you may have 1 or 2 jobs. Maybe you have a business that you have on the side of your job, but optimize those for keywords, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute. The next category is your past work history or your past experience. Once again, you want to make sure you've put in enough of your past, especially if it's related to your current position, so that in addition can optimize your profile for not only the search engine, but for the search portal inside of LinkedIn. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to optimize your websites. LinkedIn provides 3 website links that you can have live. Now, in the particular presentation, I want you to notice that I have 3 website links. One of them says free website grader, which is a custom link. I also have a link that says company website and then meet me personally. All 3 of those links go to a different location, and you can optimize those and actually get people to click through. Even if they're in a hurry, they can click through and go over and check you out on your website, get some free offer from you, and so forth. I want to point your attention to as well, having recommendations is critical, as well as having a number of connections. When someone finds you on LinkedIn, they want to know that you're connected to people. So in my case, I have over 500 connections. LinkedIn doesn't show more than that. And recommendations are critical. We're going to circle back to that in just a few moments. I want to talk about one other thing that is really critical, and that is in your executive summary. I like to say that people are always in a hurry. And so one of the things about LinkedIn is your contact information under the new platform is either hidden behind a tab that not many people know about yet, or it's down at the bottom of the page. So inside your executive summary, you're going to want to write your executive summary as if the person only has a couple of minutes to check you out. And I want to point to you the idea that you should include your phone number, your best email contact information, and you're going to want to list your specialties in this category or in this section, and have that include the keywords that are important to you. And as you can see on the screen, I've got the number of specialties that our company handles that I'm specialized in, so that now that's going to give me one additional option so that the search engine inside of LinkedIn can find my profile. I want to now talk a little bit about the profile link itself, your LinkedIn profile link. And not many people know, but I see it all the time when people talk to me, that they have never gone in and customized their LinkedIn URL, which is something you can do inside the platform. So right next to the Improve Your Profile button, next to your name, you should see a button, Edit. Well, you click on that button, Edit, and then you click in the next screen, you'll see another button, Edit, next to your profile. And what you can do at that point is a screen will pop up and you can choose a unique URL for your LinkedIn domain. Now, the beginning of the domain is always going to be linkedin.com/in/, and then you can choose your unique URL. Now, I like to say this is important because if you don't do that, you're going to have a number of automated characters that LinkedIn has given to you for your profile domain. And what I like to do is say that when you're sharing your LinkedIn domain, you want to keep it as short as possible. And I'll go ahead and throw in one other tip that I used starting back in 2006. And that was, instead of me just using the public URL, which in this case I've customized, I went one step further and did it a little bit in an advanced way. I went to GoDaddy and purchased a domain, and it actually was whoisdarrellevans.com. And what GoDaddy allows you to do is then forward that domain to my LinkedIn profile. So whenever I communicated with someone on the telephone and then sent them a follow-up email message, or even on my business cards at that time, I had a domain that said whoisdarrellevans.com. Now, why did I choose who is? Well, it's just a psychology thing. If I'm meeting someone brand new and I realize that they're probably asking that question anyway, I'm going to go ahead and give them that particular link and take them back to my LinkedIn profile. Now, I did that for several reasons. Number one, I had a number of recommendations on my profile. Number two, I had several website links and offers there. And as I mentioned to you earlier in this presentation, I didn't have my own personal website. So another place that you're going to want to optimize your profile and make sure it's foundationally presentable is in the skills and expertise section. This allows you to tell the public, the world, what you're good at. Now, you're going to want to put as many of them in as you possibly can. I believe LinkedIn gives you 40 or 50 opportunities to choose the various skills and expertise that you have in your background. The next section you're going to want to include is the group section. Now, in the group section, you're just essentially picking the groups that matter to your business, to your expertise, to your interest. That's going to give folks an understanding of the types of things that you're involved in and that you like. Okay, when you move into your work experience part of your profile, again, you're going to want to build that profile out so that you include keywords in your job description. Now, I'm not suggesting here that you just should stuff these keywords in there, but almost in the similar way that I did in my executive profile, you can similarly do in your current and past work experience, and I would certainly include those keywords involved. Tell them a brief bit about what you've done, and you can get really creative. In fact, if you look on LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of different creative ways. But if you do this, you're going to have a much better chance of showing up in search when someone searches for your particular type of profession. Maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a contractor, maybe you're a plumber, maybe you're a recruiter. You never know, but you're going to show up better if you've got these keywords sprinkled through your profile in a professional way. Let's talk about key number 2, which is to connect. So key number 1 was getting found. Key number 2 now is connecting. I like to use a quote from one of my mentors, Robert Kiyosaki, and he says, "The richest people in the world look for and build networks. Everyone else looks for work." What he is saying essentially is that building a big network is one of the major keys to not only business success and wealth, but really getting things done. We do business networking all the time, and we are always adding to our database. Well, why, when we get on social media, will we not do the same thing? So one of the first things you should be doing, if you haven't already, is go in and upload your current email account, whether it's Gmail or Outlook or Yahoo, and allow LinkedIn to go through your email and look for contacts that you already have in your email who are already on LinkedIn. It makes the process extremely easy, and there's absolutely no excuse that you shouldn't be doing this. My favorite part of LinkedIn, I think, is the advanced search box. Now, I like to do this a few different ways. I like to, if I meet someone in the marketplace at a networking event, I'll come back and search for them here. But when I'm really looking to connect with people that are my targeted customer, my targeted buyer, I'm going to go into this advanced profile. In this particular example, I use the word owner, and I want to point to your attention to the fact that you can go down on the left-hand side and you can choose the city that you're in. A lot of times it won't default to your city because it's pulling the major cities, but you can choose your city. And then for any keyword that you type in, whether it's owner, whether it's accountant, whether it's CPA, whether it's recruiting manager, whether it's human resource manager, whether it's insurance agent, you're going to get a set number of results as I've highlighted in this box. Now, in this particular case, I've highlighted 46,263. Now, I'm not sure if you can make any money or make any connections with those 46,000. That's not what I'm saying. What I am suggesting is you've now extracted a targeted list of business owners if that's who you were looking for. And I use this box on an absolute regular basis, and I call it one of my best friends on LinkedIn. Let's talk about engaging. And this is really what I think most business owners and marketers struggle with as it relates to social media in general, but more specifically on LinkedIn. You know, I found that LinkedIn, a lot of the people on LinkedIn do not spend all day there as they would on Facebook. In fact, I know they don't. It's no different than on Twitter. Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, as well as YouTube, I call those all their own ecosystems and their own economies. And you have to know how to engage and how to behave on any of these platforms. What I will say is do not mistake a social media platform, whether it's LinkedIn or one of the others, as a place to simply pitch your offer or your product or your company or your services. You're asking for trouble. What I'd like to tell you is a quote from David Merriman Scott. Now, David Merriman Scott is he's been in the PR business and the advertising world for years and years. He wrote a best-selling book about the new age of public relations. And his comment is, think like a publisher, not like a marketer. I'll say that again. Think like a publisher, not like a marketer. Now, in simple, what does he mean? Well, what you're going to find on LinkedIn is your news feed is always going to have your updates. When your friends and connections come into their feed, they're going to see your updates if you're publishing now, or if you're posting. And that's something that you're going to want to do in order to engage interaction with other people that you're connected with. Well, you don't want to always be pitching your product or service. As I mentioned, you're going to publish. Now, what do I mean again by publish? You're going to want to find information. I call it content. I call it aggregating. I call it curation, where you're going to always be looking to add value to your LinkedIn connections. Talk about the strategic offerings that your industry has. Think about what can help your customers' pain points. Look for those types of things and publish those. And on an every now and then again basis, put something in there that is a direct call to action to your business. If I had to give you a ratio, I would say post 9 pieces of good content that can be helpful to your reader, and maybe 1 promotional piece of content, whether it's to an opt-in page, whether it's to a webinar, whether it's to your website directly, or whether it's to a download or something that you've put together. So let's keep that in mind and keep moving. One of the next important things I think is important is as you are engaging with individuals you're connected with, one of the newest features that LinkedIn has is that it asks you to endorse the skills or expertise of your connections. Now, there is a lot of melee about this and a lot of, back talk I hear all the time about whether this is really important and whether these endorsements mean anything. And what I'm going to suggest to you is don't frivolously go out and endorse people simply to have them endorse you back. But in this particular case, my friend Julie Kwan, I endorse her for the items that I know that she's good at. So in this case, when you are asked to endorse someone, if you don't know that person technically, then don't endorse them frivolously. Endorse the people that you really know. Now, what I have found is that I live from this the philosophy that I give and then I'll receive. There's this little book that I read. I've been reading it for a long time. I'm no expert in it, but it says if you will give, you will then receive. So what I tend to do every week, part of my time on LinkedIn is spent looking for people that I haven't connected with in a while, and actually people that I know, and then I'll endorse a number of their skills based on what I know about them. Well, guess what ends up happening? People come back and endorse me. Well, when they do that, you can notice on my profile here that I've got a number of people who've come back and endorsed me, and I've endorsed them. And this is what I call social proof. No one wants to see a ghost town on your profile. At the very least, these are people who've said that I have some of these skills, and it makes it a little bit more credible when people are looking to connect with me and wondering if I can help them. One of the other big features that I'd like to talk about, again, from a giving standpoint, is to give and recommend others. Give recommendations to other people. Now, you can do that inside of your profile. I actually didn't put a screenshot up for that, but what I have here is a couple of recommendation screenshots from my profile, and they're going to be tied to your current and prior jobs. What's interesting about this is that all you have to do is request a profile from someone you know and trust, or as I mentioned before, go ahead and endorse someone, or should I say recommend someone, and they may want to go ahead and write a recommendation back for you. Again, this is social proof. Again, no one's going to write a presentation for you that they're not happy with you about. So this is and here's a second screen here of different recommendations. Some of these are customers, some of these are business partners, some of these are providers of services. But in either case, you want to build out your recommendation profile very, very well and do it in a good way, and it's going to pay you dividends in the long run. What I want to really encourage now is probably what I think the most important thing on LinkedIn and any social network for that matter, and that is you must be involved and engaged in a two-way conversation. A two-way conversation is really the only way you're going to build relationships. It's no different than if you walked into a networking event on a Thursday night in a crowded room of 300. If you stood on a chair with a microphone and started screaming and yelling what your product or service was, you'd probably be laughed at, ignored. Depending on where you're at, you might get arrested. Who knows? Well, in this particular example, I've received an email from Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson is indicating that he wants to connect with me. One of the first things I would suggest you do after you get a LinkedIn connection request is, if you accept the request, and you don't have to accept everyone, although I accept pretty much almost everyone as long as I believe it's a person I'd like to connect with. What I do immediately is I ask him a question. So in this particular example, I said, "Hey, Eric, thanks for the connection. What's up in your world online? Hope to chat soon." Well, he writes back, "Hey, Darrell, thanks to you as well. Currently, my business partner and I are working on a social media project, da-da-da-da-da." He's telling me he's going out of town. Well, I didn't include it on the screenshot because I didn't want to make it too long, but on the next message to him, I suggested, well, great. Enjoy your week of presenting, and by all means, when you get back in town, go ahead and connect with me. Well, sure enough, he gets back in town the week following. He sends me a long, detailed email about his weeks of presentation, and we're going to be getting together here in the next couple of weeks. And so that's what I mean by a two-way conversation. Now, I have no idea exactly what he does, but I know he does something in the online world. I'm in the online world, and maybe we can help each other. Another example is what happened when I endorsed someone. Actually, I think he endorsed me. So in this particular case, Chuck Diven, former client of mine in my prior business, he endorsed me for one of my skills. And so what I did was send him a quick message and say, "Hey, I appreciate the endorsement. I've endorsed you as well. Best wishes." Well, he decided he wanted to engage with me, so he says, "Hey, this is a good excuse to check in with you and tell you again how much I appreciate your positive, engaging presence on social media." And he went on to say that he wanted to try to catch up with me and tell me kind of some things that's going on with him. And so I wrote him back and gave him a couple of times of when I thought I might be able to get back in touch with him. And sure enough, we had a very wonderful conversation the following week. And again, struck up a relationship that, again, we hadn't done business in a couple of years. So I hope you understand this idea of two-way connections, because that is the only way you're going to get to this fourth key, which is a bonus, and we're about to wrap this presentation up. And that is, how are you going to make sales on LinkedIn? Everyone talks about, well, social media doesn't have an ROI. Well, how do you track social media ROI? And I'm going to explain to you how I handle making money on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, or Twitter or YouTube. And I'll say of all of those platforms, in terms of my experience, I've made more money on LinkedIn than I have on any other platform. I would say YouTube is probably second, Facebook is third, and Twitter is fourth. That's my experience. But I make money on almost all the social media platforms because I basically use these same strategies. So let's talk about making sales. Here's what happens when your profile is optimized to be found in LinkedIn search. I received an email back on December 7th. It was from a lady who is actually a recruiting manager for a financial services organization here in town, and she actually wrote me to tell me that she started a new dating site and that she needed some help in regards to her SEO and getting her website found. So needless to say, we ended up in a very rich conversation over the next couple of months. Now, here's what I like to tell people about social media is it's not a one hitter, quitter philosophy. No one usually shows up on social media with a credit card in hand looking to buy your services that day. So this means you've got to have a sales process. In other words, once you've engaged in a conversation, you must have a follow-up process and a follow-up system, whether it's email marketing, video marketing, maybe you're sending them PDFs or whatever the case is. But in our case, we started the conversation in December. We had a first consultation meeting by phone. We had a second consultation meeting several weeks later, face-to-face, where I made an offer to her at that point. Mind you, I didn't make an offer until the third interaction. I made an offer. She said she would consider the offer and then get back with me. Well, as you always know, prospects don't always get back with you. So then I followed up, as you can see on the screen, on February 4th, which was just a few days ago, depending on when you're watching this video, and look at, so I followed up and asked her, hey, you mentioned that you might want to get started the first week of February. I'm being diligent because my CRM said to give her, a nudge. She says back to me, sorry, Darrell, just been super busy. Glad it's only 2 hours. That actually relates to our project quote was 3 hours initially, and now it's just a 2-hour quote. She's obviously happy because I'm saving her a few bucks. She goes, because I can pay right now out of my checking account. Hey, folks, that's called cha-ching. That's called a sale. She attached her signed authorization form, which is how we charge our credit cards for our clients, and she just let me know that she wanted me to let her know when the project was complete. So that's a perfect example of us getting started with a relationship. And mind you, that was a small sale. I think it was a couple of $100 sale, maybe $240. And she's considering what direction to go with her site in a longer term campaign. So this is just the beginning of our profitable relationship. So you now know the 3 keys and the 4th key of how to make money. The first key is to make sure your profile is found. You've got to make sure then you connect. The third thing is to engage. And now that you know that, I want to tell you what your options are right now, because as a marketer, as a business owner, whoever you are watching this profile, this presentation, you've got some options. And this is the truth. You can do nothing with what you've learned today. Now, certainly you probably don't know everything to do at this point, but you could certainly do nothing and think that social media is just a passing fad. It doesn't apply to your business. I like to use and tell people a quote from Arthur Schopenhauer, and he says something like this, that all truths pass through 3 phases. First, they're ridiculed. Second, they're violently opposed. And third, they're accepted as self-evident. And so I don't know where you are right now, but I know that when I've learned over the years, whether it was the cell phone, whether it was pagers, whether it was the microwave, whether it was CDs going to DVDs, that all of these industrial technological changes go through these phases. I love what he says. So maybe you're ridiculing social media at this time. Maybe you're violently opposing it. I don't know. Maybe you're accepting it as self-evident, but you could do nothing today depending on where you stand. Number 2, you could choose to do it yourself. I'm a self-taught social media practitioner, marketer. Some people will call me an expert, but you can do it yourself. There are plenty of resources online. There are plenty of courses you can buy. The key, though, is don't just believe you're going to surf the internet all day and read and read and read. At some point, you have to get into action. So if you're the type of person who's got a day job, or you own a company and you're busy all day from 8 to 5 or from 8 to 8 or from 10 to 12, whatever the case is, you're going to have to put time in after hours. And what I used to do was put it in from 7 or 8 o'clock at night until 11, 12, 1 in the morning sometimes. So if you're dedicated to turning your business around and dedicated to doing it yourself, those are the type of hours you're going to have to complete with. Now, you can also use one of our competitors. We really don't care. We just want you to get going. This is a profitable resource. This is a trend-setting transition in our consumer buying cycle. We want you to get started. So even if it's with one of our competitors, and I've got a little bit of a unsmiley face there. So either way, get started with one of our competitors. But if you're interested, we'd love for you to get started with us. We have a couple of things that we do, and I won't make this long, but if you really want social media to work for you, we do have some coaching packages available. We do have a lot of custom plans that we can work out for businesses of all sizes. I mean, we work with one man or woman businesses. We work with individual consultants. We work with individual salespeople. We work with businesses of all sizes. Some of them are Fortune 500 businesses that we help out with this stuff. We can help on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, YouTube, and Google+. Whatever your need is, we can find a way to help you, whether it's coaching and consulting or whether it's done for you services where we do the work for you. In either way, I hope that you found some value in this presentation. I hope you will make one of those decisions. Either, you go on from this video and you don't do anything, you decide to dig in and do it yourself, you get some help from one of our competitors, or we hope we might be hearing from you soon. And either way, I want to say thank you. Our telephone number is 702-331-3331, or you can find us online at www.yocallocal.com. My name is Darrell Evans, co-founder of Yocal Local Internet Marketing, and I hope you have a great day.